All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our BCBA practice question series, where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out behavioranalyst.study.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, please let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. A teacher is helping a student refine their public speaking skills. Early on, the teacher praises any attempt at speaking clearly. Over time, the teacher only praises the student if they project their voice at a certain volume and maintain eye contact. Eventually, the student's speaking becomes consistently clear and appropriately loud. The student projecting their voice at different volumes is most similar to what? So we're looking at the student's behavior, and we're looking specifically at using their voice or projecting their voice at different volumes. Whenever you're looking at a behavior question and you've got multiple people, always identify whose behavior are we concerned with. Now, when the student is projecting their voice at different volumes, what are they doing? Because we know the teacher is helping them with their skills, and early on, the goal is to speak clearly. Then the goal is to project at a certain volume and maintain eye contact. And eventually, the student is able to speak clear and loud. Now, obviously, there are going to be times where the student needs to speak softly, where the student needs to speak normally, and in this case, the student needs to speak loud. So, what the student is able to do is differentiate between those responses. So, if we look at A, stimulus equivalence, that has to do with reflexivity, symmetry, transitivity, right? A equals A equals B, so on and so forth. We're not dealing with stimulus equivalence here. We're looking at this response or these different responses. B, stimulus discrimination. With stimulus discrimination, that's our ability to be able to identify a stimulus in a group of stimuli. So I can discriminate A from B and C. We're not looking at the different stimuli, we're looking at this response of different volumes. So what the student is able to do is project their voice at different volumes. So they have, let's say, responses 1, 2, and 3, and the student can differentiate between response 1 and then response 2 and response 3 given the appropriate time. So the student is able to differentiate between volumes or differentiate between responses. And then D, response shaping. The teacher might be using shaping, right? But we're not looking at the teacher's behavior. We're looking at the student's behavior. And what the student can do by being able to go between different responses is differentiate or engage in response differentiation. Aria, a receptionist, starts greeting customers with a simple hello. Over time, she spontaneously begins to use varied but functionally similar greetings such as hi there, welcome, or good day, even though no one explicitly trained her to use these alternatives. What is demonstrated by Aria's new responses? So we're looking at Aria's behavior and these new responses. We know Aria greets customers with hello. She then starts using functionally similar greetings like hi there, welcome, or good day, even though she was never trained. Now, this is a pretty easy question. It's laid out very clearly, right? We have a situation where we have a stimulus, which is the customer, and a response from Aria, which is hello. Over time, we get hi there, we get welcome, we get good day. So, in the presence of this stimulus, multiple responses are occurring. And we would normally call that response generalization. So, that's our prediction. We have some sort of response generalization. Let's look at A, stimulus equivalence. Again, transitivity, symmetry, reflexivity, nothing to do with what we're talking about here. And what you'll see often is answer choices like stimulus equivalence thrown in because if you're not fluent, stimulus equivalence can often sound correct when it's not. So fluency is very important. It keeps you from picking something like A when it has no application to the question. B, echoic behavior. With echoics, we are copying what someone has said, right? If I say, what's your name? And the client says, what's your name? That's echoic. Aria is not engaging in echoics. She's just engaging in greetings that no one trained her to use. So what is happening here is what we might consider response induction, where we have these novel responses occurring as a result of these other known responses, very similar to response generalization. And then D, stimulus generalization. Stimulus generalization is almost the opposite of what we're looking at here, right? Where we have a situation where a single response is going to occur in the presence of multiple stimuli. We don't have that. That's not the case here. We have multiple responses occurring in the presence of one stimulus. So the best answer here is response induction. Manny often forgets to lock his computer before stepping away from his desk, leading to security risks. His manager tells Manny that each time he leaves his workstation unlocked, he must sit down and intentionally lock and unlock his computer 10 times in a row before resuming work. After a few instances of this routine, Manny starts consistently locking his computer, which procedure is represented by Manny having to repeatedly lock his computer. Now we have a procedure question, so we want to be precise about what procedure is being attempted. We know Manny often forgets to lock his computer before stepping away from his desk, so the target behavior is locking the computer. The manager tells Manny each time he leaves his workstation unlocked, he's got to go back and lock that computer 10 times in a row. So he has to sit back down, lock and unlock 10 times in a row before he can go back to work. So the manager is making Manny engage in the correct response over and over and over again, and in hopes that Manny stops leaving his computer unlocked. Now, when we have someone engage in a correct response repeatedly as a result of an incorrect response, what is that called? A, restitutional overcorrection. With a restitutional overcorrection, this is an environmental punishment procedure where we're having somebody repair the environment to a better state than it was before, not what's occurring here. B, positive practice. With positive practice, that's what we're doing here. You have the person engage in the correct response repeatedly. Negative practice is the opposite, where you have someone engage in the wrong response repeatedly. Negative practice would be requiring Manny to intentionally leave his computer unlocked. And that's not what's occurring here. And then D, negative reinforcement. Negative reinforcement, a consequence removes something which increases behavior. We're not using negative reinforcement here, and we're focused on the procedure of having Manny intentionally lock and unlock his computer 10 times in a row. So what the manager is attempting is B, positive practice overcorrection. Now, you might look at this and say, well, after this routine, Manny starts consistently locking his computer. Isn't reinforcement involved? Potentially, but we're looking at the procedure, not necessarily the consequence. And the procedure that the manager uses is most close to positive practice overcorrection. You ask a technician to measure how quickly an adolescent client complies with their request to begin a chore, such as unloading the dishwasher. The technician times the gap between when the instruction, please start unloading the dishwasher, is given and when the client begins the task. Which measure is the technician using? Very straightforward measurement question. When you get an easy question on the exam, don't overthink it. Don't panic. People tend to panic when they get easy questions because they think it's too easy. If you're prepared, a lot of the questions are going to feel easy. In this case, we're trying to measure how quickly an adolescent complies. So we're timing, please start unloading the dishwasher, which is DSD, and when the client begins the task. So this part right here is what we're measuring. And what is it called? The time in between the SD and the response. What's going to be latency. So on the exam, you're going to be able to answer that if you're prepared very quickly, and you would just pick that and move on. Now, of course, we want to go through every answer choice. We never stop at A. So B, inter response time. Inter response time is the time in between responses. So this is IRT. This is latency. Duration is just how long a response occurs. So the duration of a single response. And then rate, which is misspelled here, would be frequency over time. What we're looking for here is latency. Lola and a coworker are chatting about upcoming deadlines. Lola's coworker says, our presentation is due in a week. How much progress have you made on it? Lola responds, I am nearly done with the first half, but will need your help moving forward. Lola's coworker then says, okay, want to eat lunch? What operant is demonstrated by Lola's behavior? Here's the thing about verbal operants is they aren't that complicated. What makes them complicated is when we have to start identifying the type of operant given a scenario or what's evoking the operant. That's how they're going to become challenging. Because if you know the general idea, you know what an interverbal is, right? It's a conversation, a back and forth. Attacked is a label, and echoic, you're copying. A man is a request. Very straightforward. So how does it become more difficult? Well, we've got to identify specific operants in, let's say, a field of operants. In this case, we're looking at Lola's behavior. Lola and her coworker are chatting. Lola's coworker says, our presentation is due in a week. Now we're looking at Lola's behavior here. Lola's response is, I am nearly done with the first half, but we'll need your help moving forward. So that's what we're focused on. Now, Lola's response was evoked by a verbal stimulus. It does not have point-to-point correspondence, but it has formal similarity, and Lola's responding to a question. What is Lola's behavior? It's going to be A, interverbal. Again, verbal operants aren't that difficult if you know what evokes them and if you know if they have formal similarity or point-to-point. What's going to be tricky is identifying the correct operant in a field of operants. And so with something like, let's say we want to look at Lola's coworker's behavior, okay, want to eat lunch. Now, that could be an interverbal, but it might also be a man. It's a request for information. Do you want to eat lunch? But we're not focused on that coworker's behavior. We're focused on Lola's. And in that case, it becomes easy. It's clearly an interverbal. Attacked is a label. It's evoked by a non-verbal stimulus. And echoic is evoked by a verbal stimulus, has point-to-point correspondence and formal similarity, and is not present here. And then a man is evoked by a motivating operation, not what's occurring here with Lola's behavior. What we have is an interverbal. Thanks for watching. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.